Good morning. This is Steve Fretzin. I'm here with Jerry Maatman, Seyfarth Shah. We're doing an interview really focused on business development. And how are you today?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Do me a favor and just briefly give just like a Reader's Digest version of your background leading up to where you are today.
I'm a graduate of Northwestern University School of Law. I practiced and grown up in the Chicago area. Where I am today is I practice 2/3 of the time here in Chicago, 1/3 of the time in New York City. My focus is on helping companies sued in big ticket, complex litigation, primarily class actions throughout the United States.
Okay. And maybe talk to me a little bit about how you started out and how you built your book, because I know you've amassed a very large book of business. You've been very successful. Take me through how that happened.
Well, probably by a process of elimination, but it basically taking time to invest in myself off the timesheet. I think one of the important things that any lawyer can do is to sit by themselves in a room and think. And strategize about what the market is, how it's evolving, and what they can offer to a purchaser of legal services. So what are evolving trends and what is going to be hot, and trying to configure your expertise and your, in essence, deliverables, what you offer to the market to meet that demand or that need. I think I've been pretty successful in being able to be at the table whenever there are large engagements, and I'm able to display my expertise and show clients what I can do for them.
Okay. I think there's a lot of attorneys that have heard before, get out there and speak and get out there and write, and I think that many of them make efforts to do so, but they don't really find that they're getting the return that they had hoped or that they were wanting for. Is there something they're missing?
Well, I think that there's only so much time that someone can spend marketing or developing their business, and it has to be strategic and it has to be effective. And so for me, it has to be built around a purpose or a brand. By spending that hour and investing in yourself, what are you trying to do? And are you speaking to the right people? Are you writing to the correct audience? Are you doing it in a way such that you can use it and repurpose it and be able to display it to the world, both on the internet and internally at your own firm and externally with potential clients, that will connect the dots for the legal market and demonstrate that you're a person that a purchaser of legal services should talk to? And so a good example would be what I did in 1992. Congress considered passing a law to protect people from employment discrimination who are disabled. It's called the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Sure.
Brand new. And so what I did is I studied the legislative history, and I created, before the act was passed, what I called a survival guide for companies who all of a sudden now would face new obligations under this law. And I published works on it. I did seminars on it. I was quoted on it. And as litigation began, I got hired time and time again based on getting to the market before anyone else and creating solutions and anticipating what these problems would be and packaging it in such a way that I demonstrated my expertise. And as a result, got hired on a repetitive basis by companies both to counsel them through compliance with the ADA and then companies that were sued under the ADA. So it's an example of strategic thinking, to be in the right place at the right time and offering the right sorts of thinking and critical solutions.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very forward thinking. I don't know that there are many attorneys out there that are looking at the laws that are going to happen so that they can start to get, some kind of plan in place of how they can work themselves into that. That's really smart.
And that's just one example. I think some other things that have worked for me are to talk to plaintiffs' lawyers. What are the new theories? What are the industries? What are the new emerging areas of lawsuits that you're going to bring in the future against corporate America? And think about, when electronically stored information and the internet began to pervade the workplace such that now we have a digital workplace. How is information stored? How is it managed? And how does that impact lawsuits? And to be able to be agile with that information and to counsel companies on, you're going to be sued and this is what you're going to have to do with your data. I found that by thinking about those things, I was years ahead of competitors and simply was able to get hired due to the currency of that forward thinking. And I think that lawyers don't spend enough time thinking about the market, their brand, and how they fit in the market, as opposed to, well, I'm going to go to a bar association meeting and go to a cocktail party and try to meet people. The market's not going to come to you. You have to go there and be part of the market. And so I often hear young attorneys say, yeah, I want to spend time, and it's my New Year's resolution to begin to focus on doing these things. And my sense is you're missing the train, and the train missed the system unless you're doing it every day.
Yeah.
And if you don't invest in yourself, no one else is going to.
Yeah. I work with attorneys day in and day out on these very things, and one of the things that I have them do that I think is very unusual in business development, but happens every day in sports and in other things where people have to improve, is I have them keep track of their wins and losses, and I have them debrief scenarios. So if I had a client just went on a meeting yesterday, he had steps that he was following to get through the meeting successfully, and at the end of it, he said, this is what went right, this is what went wrong. The next time I have a meeting, I'm not going to do this wrong again. And so that type of not just practicing, but practicing perfectly, I think goes right in line with what you're saying with regards to, how you have to, really understand that there's statistics here and they're typically going against you. We just want to try to maybe raise the statistics a little bit more if we can by learning from mistakes.
Right. I would maybe add two caveats, and that is every day I show up to work scared. Where is my next case coming from? And if I have that mindset of urgency, it allows me to focus on a daily basis on business development. The next is an aspirational goal. And this aspirational goal has paid dividends for me time after time. And that is, no matter what I do as a lawyer, I want to be a helper and a problem solver to the legal market or to people in general.
Yeah, I think that's really important. With the turn, whether it's the recession that happened or just the way that information is exchanged over the last 10 or 15 years with the internet and other things, it seems like there's more pressure on attorneys than ever before to build a book of business and to have, a practice and their own clients and things like that. And, what do you say to the younger attorneys that are aspiring to build a book from 100, 200 to 500, 600 and take that next step up? What are some of the kind of the key elements that you routinely, tell them they have to do?
It's a very interesting dynamic and history. When I was a young lawyer in the early 1980s, clients were clients for life. And I think the watchwords now are, what have you done for me lately? And price is everything. And so lawyers need to realize that despite not wanting to be so, they might be viewed by the market or the majority of the market as commodities. Mm-hmm. And so one of the markers of being a commodity is price. And so if there are lots of lawyers and clients are being approached by lots of lawyers and the competition is fierce, how can one stand out? And I think that in the new market in which we are, speed and ability to solve problems with speed is the bare minimum of what is necessary for someone trying to develop and expand a book of business. If you're not focused on rapid response to problems and rapid solving problem, you're going to be left in the dust.
Everything, is, like you said, the speed. Everything is now. And I think attorneys want to build a book and they want it to happen that fast. And it obviously doesn't work that way. Maybe they can try to come up with some strategies and things to shave some years off of the just making mistakes and figuring it out. But talking to guys like you and me and others in their firm, they can maybe get a step up. But let me ask you this: with regards to the argument that I have so much work on my plate. I am, all the senior partners are dumping work on my plate. I'm working X number of hours already. How am I supposed to How am I supposed to get out there and market myself because I have just an overload of work? How do you address that, or how have you seen attorneys in your firm get through that barrier?
Well, I mean, everyone faces that, and every successful rainmaker could have used that as an excuse as to why they didn't have time to invest in business development. Mm-hmm. And by hook or crook, they found a way around that dilemma. And so my sense is you have to find and make the time. Is it on the half-an-hour train ride in the morning? Is it on the car ride home? Is it making a list at 10 o'clock at night before going to bed of the 15 things you want to check on and do? Everyone's busy.
Yeah. I think you and I both see that, and it's just, I know that it's something that lawyers need to hear from successful rainmakers, because I think they're all, there's many of them that are on the fence about that argument and then making that excuse, and I think they need to hear. It's the top 3% that are thinking proactively and doing the things that you and I are talking about and that you've done. So yeah, maybe the pond is bigger than one might think.
It's much bigger, I think.
Yeah. Okay. The biggest mistakes that either you made in your career that you fixed, or biggest mistakes that you're seeing with younger attorneys in the firm that, and obviously we just spoke about the excuse of, time, but other things that you're seeing that just try to avoid?
I think in rainmaking, one of the biggest mistakes I've seen time after time is taking things for granted and not investing in a client relationship, and not attending to the needs of people. Out of sight, out of mind is an axiom that comes to my mind. And an example would be, even when things are going good, to check in with that client. Is the relationship such that we're addressing your needs, and how can I do better tomorrow? To demonstrate that you're not taking someone for granted, and then not running away from problems. I think when problems develop in a relationship, and inevitably they do, the larger that client engagement or relationship becomes, the manner in which the rainmaker, the business developer, the young lawyer responds to that problem and solves it for the client says a lot to the client about the health of that relationship. And so I view problems as opportunities to make the relationship even better.
Yeah, it's just an opportunity. It's more of an opportunity than one might think.
Right.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What one of the things, it's funny that I wrote an article called "Darwinism for Your Legal Practice." So I think you and I are on the same page with that. But it is eat or be eaten. Kind of final words, relating to business development. Everyone needs to come up with their own plan. But any final words regarding, advice to attorneys and growing a practice?
Well, I think when it comes to business development, you have to be yourself, and you can't assume someone else's persona. Some people write exceptionally well. Some people speak exceptionally well. Some do both. Some like going to parties, some don't. Whatever works for you, I think, is what you ought to focus on, and you need to make it fun. You need to view it not as drudgery, but something that you want to invest in and have fun doing, because it's going to become a daily ritual.
Yeah.
And so instead of doing what others have done, chart your course and do what makes sense for you and what makes you unique to the market, because everyone's not a Xerox copy of someone else. And so what might work for me might not work for someone else. And the Rubik's Cube of this area is to figure out what's best for you as a person and to focus on that and play to your strengths. You can address your weaknesses, but play to your strengths and use that in terms of building your brand. And have fun with it.
Yeah, that's great. Jerry Maatman, Safe Arth Shaw, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Okay.